All right. So shall we begin? Okay. So I wanted to welcome you all to our new leader training. Um, my name is Lily Durantis, and I'm here with Lisa Page. We are co-chairs for the Groups and Substantive Committee for RPTE. I wanted to go through our agenda and just welcome you. Um,
Great.
yep.
First,
Go
we'll
ahead.
have the luck of hearing from our section chair, Marie Moore, who, in addition to welcoming us, will give us insight into her views of RPTE and the broader ABA, and how we can all work together. We'll also hear on leadership journeys within RPTE. You'll hear from Lily and from me again on group and committee leaders' roles and responsibilities within RPTE. We will also hear from leadership and mentoring. And we will hear also on the nuts and bolts of connecting and communicating within RPTE.
Yep. And also, we will ask you to just stay with us for just a few minutes at the end of the presentation. We're going to have a very short survey, which will launch on your screen. It's only 3 questions. If you could give us just a couple of seconds to respond to how the training went, we'd really appreciate the feedback from you. So I'm going to pass it on to Marie Moore, who's going to talk about RPTE and the ABA. Marie is our RPTE section chair, and she is also a member at Chair Garner, Cahill, Richter, Klein, and Hilbert in New Orleans. So Marie?
Hi, y'all. Welcome. We're so excited to have you. The ABA is going to give you, or the section is going to give you a whole bunch of opportunities. I know it's a volunteer organization, but hey, you're going to do a lot of good and you're going to benefit yourself too. How? You're going to provide benefits to real property and trust lawyers throughout the country by sharing knowledge with them and providing networking community for them. And you're going to advance your own professional development by networking with, learning from, and advancing the knowledge of other real estate lawyers. I think the important thing is, remember, what you learn, you will teach to others. What you teach to others will advance your reputation nationally. You have a national audience, a national network to benefit and to benefit from. And that's what's important. That's why you're volunteering. That's why it's worth your time here, very worth your time. But first, let's look at the section. It's a lawyer organization, so there's a lot of moving parts here, but only a few that you need to worry about right now. So we are a section of what we sometimes call the big ABA. We are the real property trust and estate section. Unusually in the ADA, we have 2 divisions. We have the real property division, which I came up in, and we have the trust and estate division. The chairs of the section alternate between an RP person and a TE person. So I'm the section chair this year, and I'm an RP person. Ray Prather will be the chair next year, and he is a TE person that came up through the trust and estate side. We're both here to help you, and that's what's important. Lily, can you advance, please? These are the portions of the ABA that you really need to know now, okay? There are 8 sections in the real property side and 7 sections on the trust and estate side. You all, and thank you for being here, are probably a chair or vice chair of one of these substantive sections. We also have substantive groups or committees. We also have standing groups and committees that deal with more section-oriented things like knowing like membership and CLA and ECLA and that sort of thing, but don't worry about that right now. What you need to worry about right now is getting to know those in your division and group and committee, and being a leader within that group and committee. That's what's important for you. If you later you want to get to know more about the standing committees, the task forces, the officers, and how one becomes an officer, leadership and mentoring is there to help you. And if you can sign up for a mentor at that point and get to know more, but we're going to try and teach you a bit now and at the New Orleans leadership and at the other calls this year, the other leadership calls this year. And again, we're very happy to have you, but these are the things you need to get to know now. The real property division and its groups and committees, and the trust and estate section, its groups and committees. And I don't want to give short shrift to the interdivisional groups and committees, which are uniform laws and formerly law practice management and now more technology and practice, because technology is becoming increasingly important in all of our days and practices and work. So that committee will work on that for you, and you will see offers for calls with that group to talk about AI and other things that you're interested in. So these are great things. One thing I want to mention before I forget is that as a group or committee chair or vice chair, you're going to find out about pending legislation, perhaps, that is of interest to you. You may wish to comment on that legislation. You will find it out about possible big ABA initiatives and moves. So it's great to stay abreast of current developments in your area of the law. For example, when we all had the FinCEN and the registration requirements that were coming down under the last administration, we had fabulous programs on those and kept everybody abreast of those current developments. Next slide, please, Lily.
Mhm.
Okay, I know you couldn't read the prior slide, but these are the groups and committees within RP. Uh, and I want to point out that you should get to know these, because you should collaborate with other groups and committees that are of interest to you. We try not to have people in silos. So design and construction has a lot to do with land use planning. Green and sustainable transactions has a great deal to do with real estate finance. Legal opinions, of course, have a great deal to do with real estate transactions and special investors and investment structure groups. So if you're trying to put together a program or an article on ground leasing, you might want to collaborate with someone from commercial real estate transactions or real estate finance group for perhaps due diligence or perhaps the mortgage aspects of a ground lease. So collaboration is crucial, and it's one of the benefits of being part of the section. Next slide, please, Lise. Business planning, these are the groups within the trust and estate side. And again, there are lots of opportunities for collaboration. I came up through the leasing group and the real property section, so I'm less familiar with the nuts and bolts of collaboration within these groups and committees. But Ray will speak to you later, and perhaps he may have some things to say about practical collaboration efforts within the trust and estate groups and committees. Next slide, please. The joint groups. As I pointed out, joint technology and law practice will give you a lot of insights into technology and practice methods, and joint legal education and uniform laws group has, well, the legal education has a professors panel that does periodic free programs on recent developments, and our uniform laws group, you have an opportunity to be an advisor or a liaison, or just to even be part of a group talking about prospective uniform laws. Next slide, please. We have lots of opportunities for you. You can create, and you should create and be part of a community of lawyers, all of whom practice in your field. And you know what? It's not just people that practice in your field, it's also people who, for example, really practice within the title insurance area, but sometimes do a lease, and they want to have a discussion among other lawyers who do leases, and the leasing group discussions are perfect for those. You can and will, I hope, hone your leadership and organization skills within your group and committee. You will present and offer your group and committee members the opportunity to present, both in informal presentations and discussions within your own group and committee, and also formally in live CLEs and ECLEs. Show the nation your knowledge. Get out there and get your name on ECLEs, but you might want to practice first on your group or committee. We do have the live meeting every year, and that is a great opportunity to present in the live meeting. You have an opportunity to learn from informal discussions with groups and committees and to participate in those discussions. We have an initiative this year that y'all should be creating something like a study group where you discuss a hot topic. And, we're lawyers, we like to talk. Even those of us who mostly do transactional work, we still like to talk. But we need the tips from others across the country as to how they're handling particular matters. And you should learn from these informal discussions. We have lots of opportunities to publish. I mean, we have probate and property, we have the journal, we have emails within the section, we have ECL, we have the more informal e-report that is being revisioned in order to provide a more up-to-date platform for quick and down and dirty updates on matters of law that are of interest to you, but you can publish in those under your own name and get your name out there. You can attend our live meetings and network in person with other RPTE colleagues. Our our TE vice chair, and you will be dealing mostly with the TE and RP vice chair this year because they are in charge of the substantive groups. They will do appointments in September, and they are there for you. I think I forgot to mention earlier that our bar year starts on September 1 and ends at the end of August of each year. So that's why we're starting now. That's why I'm the section chair as of September 1. That's why you are all group or committee chairs and vice chairs as of September 1, and you will continue in that role for the next year. Sometime around March, we will start looking at next year's appointments, and I hope all of you want to come back and have benefited from this year, but don't forget that bar year. Next slide, please. What are you going to do as a committee leader? You should organize your committee by schedule and holding regular calls, both substantive and organizational. Those are key. That's where you can have your discussion. That's where you should have 5-minute, 20-minute presentation followed by discussion and sharing. Your committee has a listserv. All groups and committees have a listserv. Monica can give you yours. and we'll give you yours. Use it. Reach out to your committee members by email to determine the topics that interest them and offer them opportunities to publish and to speak. Participate in the group calls. That's very important. Engage on behalf of your committee in the group's selection and presentation of live programs at ECLEs. Next slide, please. What are the tools? We have tools to help you. The section officers, I'm the chair, and I'm always here to help. And I take emails and I respond to emails, particularly from those who are volunteering their time within our leadership. We're here, and you have also the chair, vice chair, and council representative for your group to help and mentor. What is a council representative? Once you've been engaged with the section for a few years, you may become a member of the council. The council members also have a duty of mentoring and helping individual groups. So your group will have a council representative assigned to it to help and mentor you. The Chicago staff, Monica, Robin, Khadijah, and others are happy to set up calls and provide the listserv and other information you need. I want to emphasize the directory. It's going to be coming out shortly, and it will be online before you can get a hard copy for contribution. It will list the officers, the group and committee members, those in your committee and group, and others, as well as the Chicago staff and their roles. It is key to success. Read it and use it. And the opportunities for collaboration. Of course, your active engagement with the section will yield benefits, but you need to be actively engaged, and we encourage you to be so. What you put into the section and your volunteer work within the section will yield benefits to you, but you have to put in the effort, and we appreciate the fact that you do. And we do understand that you have other things going on in your practice in your life, but we hope that you will put in the work with the section in order to receive the benefits and the personal recognition throughout the country for that work and the networking opportunities it provides to you. As an example of those, I want to send this presentation off to Jim and Jack. Jim Carey, the vice chair for Trust and Estate, and Jack Fursko, who was my original group chair within the leasing group. They will tell you about their leadership journeys and tell you how you can benefit the same as they did. Thank you.
Thanks, Marie. Jack, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Sure. Thanks, Marie. Yeah, Marie and I go way back. I've been a member of the section since probably the early 90s. I know some of you are saying that you weren't even born then. Please don't verbalize it. But it's been terrific, and it's been terrific for a number of reasons, and maybe we can go to the next slide. I got involved early on because I saw it as a way of sort of expanding my knowledge base. You know, some of the written materials that I received from the section were terrific, and I started out giving a talk down at one of the annual meetings down in Washington that Mark Sen was leading the panel, and for those who do real estate work, Mark is a prolific writer, a fabulous resource, and a terrific individual. But in any event, Mark, who never met me, called me up and said, we have this other topic, and I know that you would be interested in speaking on the second topic as well. And he just volunteered me for it. But what I learned from that is there's no better way to learn subject matter than to give a talk. No better way to enhance your sort of credibility, if you will, than to be able to market that the ABA. I just spoke before the ABA, before the real property section. It's sort of this third-party verification, if you will, and then using that talk to jump off to an article, to jump off to a client alert, and other programs. It allows you to make a lot of use and reuse of that discussion. And I think, Jim, you probably have had a similar experience as I.
Yeah, Jack, thanks. So I had my introduction to this section a little over 20 years ago. I attended, I'm in Chicago, attended a local Chicago meeting of the section. And after the presentation, I still remember it was Dom Campisi, Terry Franklin, Bob Sachs, and Gerard Brew did a little kind of taking testimony in an undue influence case, kind of a setup. And I went up afterwards and said, you know, how do you get involved in something like this? It was the first time I had ever attended an ABA thing. That's all it took. From that moment on, I was involved. They said, "Oh, you're interested? We'd love for you to get involved in committee work to present." And by the time of the next meeting, I was involved in making presentations, writing, and soon thereafter was a vice chair of a committee. Spent the next 8 to 10 years mostly involved with the substantive side of the section, working with the litigation group, and went from committee vice chair to group vice chair to group chair during that time. And then just kind of kept saying yes and indicating my interest in being involved. So I was a liaison to another section, the dispute resolution section, which was a great experience. Was asked to, as some of you will be over the course of the next few years, to analyze for consideration for the section a new uniform law that was being proposed. Got involved in a couple of task forces, then was on corporate sponsorship and the GSC, and ultimately wound up being an assistant finance officer on council. And then interestingly, even though I had a couple of years where I was really busy both with work and some other volunteer commitments, and I kind of stepped back a little bit. And when I was ready to jump back in with both feet, the section was ready for me. So I've had, I think Jack and I have had somewhat similar experiences. Our paths, our journeys aren't unusual, but they're not the only way. So I think as you're thinking about how you can get, think about our examples and the examples of other mentors you have, and just look for the opportunities over the next few years. It's interesting, the people that I've met in that first CLE over 20 years ago became my mentors and colleagues and are to this day. Jack, maybe you could touch on some of the specific value that you've had from being involved with the speaking engagements and the writing opportunities.
Sure. So, and my path along the way has been very similar to Jim's in terms of committee, vice chair, chair, group, vice chair, chair, council, etc. But the opportunity to speak has created a number of direct benefits to my practice, if you will. I mentioned about the third-party authentication. One of my long-term goals had been to use the ABA and State Bar as sort of a base, if you will, a predicate for ultimately becoming involved with the American College of Real Estate Lawyers. And there's a certain give back requirement there. And that stemmed from the fact that at one time I was competing with another attorney for representation of a particular pension fund, and the distinguishing factor was they had been involved in the ABA, I was involved in the ABA, they were a member of ACRL, I was not. So what it allowed me to do was to create that base of speaking and writing, which led to a host of relationships, having spoken on panels with Marie on insurance and leasing, to a relationship with her and her firm, and others within the section, and by building those relationships, I've found that frequently I am called upon or do call upon others to serve as local counsel in matters that I have. I was just on the phone this morning with Steve Romine, who's a longtime member of the ABA, who was acting as local counsel in a matter that I have in Virginia. Interestingly enough, in terms of expanding your base and using that to market and serve as a basis for other articles, George Bernhardt and I, back during the pandemic, gave a talk in the section on force majeure and issues, along with Alan DeShulo, on insurance coverage for the pandemic issues that arose during that time. George and I then were able to use that talk, turned it into an article for probate property. We then used both of those as a basis for an ACRL presentation, an article, and then further used them for a PLI conference, an article. So all of that allows you to take one topic that you may have and expand on it, and then talk about it to clients and send out social media the fact that you're speaking at these various events. So it allows for a great marketing opportunity. Jim, do you want to comment in terms of your experience in that regard?
Sure, thanks, Jack. I'd say I endorse everything that you said. One thing I'd add is CLE credits. It's depending on your jurisdiction, it's a nice, I wouldn't say easy, but a good way to get your CLE credits. Depending on your jurisdiction, you might be able to get 10 hours or so from doing a single presentation. So that's another nice benefit. Go to the next slide. I'll touch on client connections first. So local counsel work, it has been my relationships with folks in the ABA has provided me with a great network of referral sources. So friends on the coasts and other in adjacent states where people from tend to move in and out of Illinois have turned out to be a real nice resource for me. But as importantly, those colleagues have been a great resource for me to refer clients to, and to know, I know these people, I know they're good lawyers, I know they're conscientious, and I can confidently refer them to these friends and colleagues that I've met through the section. And that's been invaluable. I guess, Jack, do you have any additional comments on the client connections?
Well, I would say that, part of, when you're serving, for example, as local counsel, you're very conscientious about not doing something to take over the client. But it does give you an opportunity to meet others in connection with the client. So, for example, I was asked to serve as local counsel for a particular pension fund, and the real estate advisor for the pension fund was BlackRock. I happened to become friendly with the particular advisor at BlackRock as a result of that, and received a lot of work after that, unrelated to the pension fund, just different clients that BlackRock was representing. So it opens up an opportunity to meet others, and to be able to expand your client base, it also opens up an opportunity to talk to clients about talks that you have given. And perhaps going into those clients and giving a small talk or a talk to a small group within the client space on issues that they may face. And it allows you to expand the client's relationship with you and their reliance on you, because they see you as a source of more than just, in my particular circumstance, putting together a real estate contract. So I think this creates a broad amount of opportunity. And I would just say one thing, which I just want to touch on, which Marie mentioned, which is if you have an interest in becoming a group chair or vice chair, or getting on council, ask. Because the one thing that the ABA and the section in particular relishes is people who want to become involved and actually ask. Don't be bashful. Let people know that you have an interest in going further than whatever position you may presently be involved with.
Yeah, maybe we can go to the next side, the lifetime friendship side. Jack, I know it's been the case for you too. It's not just a network; these really are friends. You see it. I see my colleagues with the ABA at least a couple of times a year, and then we're talking on the phone more often. We're having Zooms these days. I use my litigation colleagues, the ABA, as Marie mentioned, as a study group. You know, I use either the listserv or I'll call particular people, either when I have a question about their jurisdiction, or I'm wondering how their jurisdiction would handle something that I'm dealing with in my jurisdiction. But beyond that professional relationship, we wind up being fast friends. Every time we see them, I know about their families, they know about mine. When you've gone to karaoke night till 2 a.m. with these people a few times, you do tend to get to know them pretty well. Highly recommend.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. You're right, Jim, to make lifelong friends. And I know coming to the annual meetings is always exciting because you get to see these people, but also times when I'm traveling to different areas, where friends that I've met, whether it be Colorado, Florida, California, we've become friends. My wife and spouses, significant others of people have become friends, and we do make plans to get together when we're geographically similarly situated. So,
yeah.
It's a great benefit, if you will, from the section involvement.
Yeah, so maybe I think Lily and Lisa Page were going to talk a little bit about what some of those specific roles entail in a little more detail. So I think it's group and committee leaders you guys were going to discuss.
Yep, that's right. We're just going to go through the roles and responsibilities. Thank you so much, Jack and Jim. Okay. So moving on to the next segment, roles and responsibilities for RPTE's new leaders. Lisa and I are co-chairs. We introduced you to the training earlier on. We can take a few minutes to just cover this slide. These are the leadership levels and how they fit in within the leadership structure. So at the very top within this universe of substantive groups, we have the supervisory council member. That person's role is to advise the group chair and the vice chair and to just help keep them on track and be a resource for them. The group chair and vice chair has within their group several committees. So there are probably many new committee leaders on this training. And this is where you would interact with your group leader, coordinate and communicate how you would like to contribute to the year ahead from a substantive perspective as well as from an administrative perspective. Just wanted to mention that to understand better how RPTE's leadership structure works and how the roles and responsibilities lay out between the group chair and the committee chair and vice chairs, I encourage you to visit riptefall.com, where all of these materials are housed, and you can get a quick read through what are the expectations for these leaders of within RPTE. The group chair will coordinate administrative calls for you, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And also, you as a committee leader will work on substantive calls throughout the year for the group's membership. And for RPTE's membership, quite honestly, the calls are open to everyone. So when coordinating the business plan, which we will also speak about shortly, you'll be able to create a timeline and a roadmap for the year ahead. So I'm going to move on to the next slide and introduce Lisa, who will present on this one.
Thank you, Lily. So this chart really focuses on the relationships between the roles that Lily just discussed. Again, at the top, we see the SEM. The SEM is a member of RPTE Council, and the crux of the role is to advise and support group leadership and to report back to council on group activities. In the middle, you see group chairs and vice chairs, and below that, you see committee chairs and vice chairs. Lily will talk us through roles and responsibilities in more detail. So for my purposes right now, what I will say is that these arrows suggest a very top-down structure, which in some respects is accurate. That's sort of the leadership-oriented mentality that helps us organizationally contribute to a coherent whole. But I think an important takeaway from this is that in practice, a lot of the substance really travels upwards through this chain, starting from the activities at the committee level and moving upwards. Committees organize us based on our interests and our areas of expertise at really the most granular level within RPTE, to encourage us to gather with people who have similar interests, similar knowledge bases, and or around the things that we're seeking out most purposefully for community and for our career, for our intellectual homes within RPTE, with the objective of really starting a lot of conversation, discussion, production through those shared connections. So that things like presentations, publications, other substantive activities really start at that committee level and then contribute to the work of the group and up from there to RPTE as a whole. Lily, back to you.
Okay, thank you. And so here is just to outline exactly what Lisa was talking about in a more granular level. Under the communication pillar, it's important to, as Marie said, connect with the listservs. Ask Monica for the listserv for your committee, or if you're a group leader for your group. It's the best way to really capture the temperature of what your members would like to talk about, hear about, learn about, and also how they would like to contribute. So the listservs come in very handy. You do have to schedule calls because that would always keep you on track and making sure time doesn't pass, too much time doesn't pass before connecting again. So scheduling monthly calls really helps keep the momentum going as a group leader and a committee leader as well. You can add posts through ABA's communities that will inform and update everyone for events or calls, substantive calls that you're hosting. And there's more, right? In terms of planning, as I mentioned earlier, you schedule administrative calls and substantive calls. Your group leader will handle the administrative calls, but as a committee leader, you should attend. Your group leader will take the lead in guiding that administrative call. And you will simply be there, available, and willing to participate and contribute your skill set to the success of the year. The business plan we'll talk about in detail. I'm not going to go into discussion on that one. Uh, Groups and committees put up CLEs for the spring conference, as well as ECLEs, which are critically important. As we heard from Jack and Jim, it's a great way to get your branding out there and get your expertise out there. Um, Publications, we have Probate and Property, and we also have the journal. We'll hear about that in the committee and the group trainings that are coming up in this week and next week. Government submissions, again, we will hear more about that in the coming group and committee trainings that are coming up on Wednesday and on Monday. And promoting DEI, incredibly important, and we'll provide a link to where you can get the policy that is related to DEI and how we can continue to foster inclusion within the ABA and RPTE's activities. Succession planning is critically important as well. You heard from Marie that in around March, you're going to start getting requests for who should be taking on the next leadership role within your committee or within your group, or to express what you're interested in picking up and continuing to work through RPTE. So that is a timing later on in the year, but certainly something to keep an eye on. It's best throughout the whole year to keep succession planning in mind, primarily because it is a great opportunity for you to get to know people, get to understand their skill sets, their expertise, and to help foster their success within RPTE as well and recommend them for other leadership roles. I'm going to move on to the next slide and pass it on to Lisa.
Thank you. As Maria emphasized, this is the very start of the bar year, and a crux of that is that this is a time to gather and to plan for the year ahead. There are, of course, informal aspects of planning for the bar year, like whatever personal goal setting you might have, and some formal aspects of planning for the bar year. A key example of which is the group business plan process. A business plan is a form submitted by each group early in the bar year, put together over the course of the fall, which covers and asks questions about the full range of group activities, including planning for regular substantive calls, contribution to CLEs, including the National CLE Conference in the spring and ECLEs, plans to have publications written by and coming out of the group, including books, the Probate and Property magazine, our scholarly journals, etc. Plans for collaboration. As we've heard from a number of people today, collaboration is a key goal, and that's another one of the objectives that's asked to group leaders on the business plan form, and also plans for member and leadership development. A new feature this year of the group business plan form is that group leaders are asked to establish expectations for their underlying committees and to report these expectations to their committee leaders via the committee questionnaire. Committee leaders will then complete the questionnaire with their plans for the year so that group leaders can then incorporate this information into their own group level business plans. Lastly, the business plans ask groups whether there is a fellow assigned to their group and what plans the group has to incorporate and involve the fellow in their activities. Lily, if you would advance, please. Thank you. So more on the fellows program. Some of you on this call may currently be fellows, or like me, may have been a fellow. So for that category of us, this will be very familiar. For those of you to whom this isn't familiar, every year RPTE selects a new class of relatively early career attorneys for a 2-year program that fosters their growth professionally, both in and out of the section. And fellows are intentionally and purposefully assigned to a group and sometimes also to a committee within the group. And that group leader is responsible for ensuring their assigned fellow is engaged with the work of the committee and has substantive work through which to contribute. So a group leader should ensure that the fellow assigned to their group has plans to speak, has plans to write, has a plan for contributing and being a part of things. But also conversely, we would encourage fellows to seek out activities suited to their interests and to reach out to the fellows team for any guidance they'd like to connect with the members engaged with the sort of projects to which they'd like to contribute. Lily, next slide, please.
Okay, thank you. And so just to wrap things up, we have about 3 slides on wrap up. So please stay with us for a second. There are some additional leadership trainings that are coming up, which we wanted to make sure everyone was aware of. On September 10th, which is this Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have a committee chair and vice chair training that's focused on a lot of the things that we covered earlier in terms of how does the committee chair work within the organization. On September 15th, we have a group chair and vice chair a presentation that again talks about their specific roles and responsibilities and what's coming up in the year ahead. And September 17th, which is next Wednesday, is the Supervisory Council members meeting. I could see there's a typo there. Sorry about that. We'll fix that before this is posted. The business plans, um, actually, I'm going to turn it to Lisa to talk a little bit about the business plans and that timing if you want, Lisa.
Sure. As mentioned, this is the business plan process has been tweaked from prior years. I mentioned that the request to have group leaders set committee expectations as part of the business plan is relatively new, and the deadline for that is September 24th. So those of you who are committee leaders, you should be hearing from your group leaders on or about that date, with a week to then turn the committee questionnaire back to your group leaders for the October 1st deadline, and then group leaders will turn in their group business plan form October 8th. So a lot to think about, but some very straightforward and clear-cut forms on which to report.
Thank you, Lisa. And then we have our requests for proposals, which are for the National CLE meeting in the spring. Those are due on November 21st, and you will be hearing more about those and what's involved at the upcoming trainings that we just mentioned. Go to the next slide. We have our quarterly subcouncil and or also known as division quarterly calls. Here, the group chair or vice chair must attend and report on the activities of their group and their committees. The calendar invitations have been sent for these remote meetings. If you don't have them on your calendar, please email Monica. Trust and Estates holds a separate meeting from Real Property, and these are the designated dates and times. Please calendar them. And again, if they're not on your calendar already, please email Monica Larries at ABA. Fall leadership meeting is coming up. It will be in New Orleans, November 13th through the 15th. And National CLE, which also includes a leadership meeting, is April 29th through the 2nd, and that will take place in Chicago. Just to wrap up, we've given you a lot of dates and a lot of events and a lot of elements that are happening. You can find everything at rippetyfall.com, the business plan templates, the request for proposal templates, the DEI plans and initiatives, the group and committee expectations, as well as a snapshot. The snapshot is an extract is here on the right-hand side of my screen. This is a handy PDF that you can print out that gives you a month-by-month, step-by-step timeline for what you should be doing in any given month and what you should be thinking about, or at least be familiar with as upcoming deadlines for the year ahead. It's very helpful. It's about 4 pages and it's worth a printout and pinning it on your board. The org chart is on rippetyfall.com as well as the directory. So please use that as a resource for yourself as you continue to grow and learn within Rippety. And the best advice I could give is to stay curious and to keep asking questions and staying involved. We really want to thank you. So I'm going to introduce now Dan Orvin, who will discuss about leadership and mentoring. Lisa, thank you for helping me with the presentation today.
All right, thank you, Lily. I am Dan Orvin with Womble Bond Dickinson in Charleston, South Carolina, and I co-chair leadership and mentoring with Amber Quintal. We also have Joanne Englehart, who's been involved with leadership and mentoring since the beginning and is an advisor to our standing committee. I'm going to tell you a little bit about, and I'm trying, I know we're running a bit behind, so I'm going to keep this pretty succinct. Lily, you go to the next slide. What do we do? Well, leadership and mentoring, which started as a task force under planning, is now a standing committee, and we're excited about that. But our primary goal is to provide newer leaders with the information they need to advance and feel comfortable within the section. We connect mentors and mentees where meaningful relationships are fostered, where seasoned leaders are paired with less seasoned leaders to have become better and more experienced leaders. We don't just mentor newer leaders, although that's sort of our jam. We that's where we sort of have the most mentees, but we do mentor mid-level leaders who are looking to ascend to higher leaders in leadership positions in the section, including council, standing committee chairs, vice chairs, even executive committee positions. So we will pair those more experienced leaders who are looking to be mentored with very experienced leaders, maybe former chairs and other folks. So not just new leaders, but that is a lot of what we do. All right, next slide. What are the keys to successful mentoring? We're going to talk about it in two ways. From this perspective of the mentee and the mentor, we'll start with the mentee. So if you're a mentee, you want to examine your goals and ask yourself what you value about the section, identify your aspirations, and be frank with your mentor about your goals. Your mentor can guide you as the appropriate ways to pursue your goals without overstepping. It's important that you are frank, it's confidential. This is a great way. Before this, you sort of have to know someone and tell somebody that you want to move up in leadership or do something in leadership or take a position. The mentor kind of fast tracks that for you. So it's a really, really great way to integrate yourself in the section quicker than you could normally. But you got to be frank and share those aspirations so your mentor can help you. You can ask your mentor about the leadership structure and the duties of each office and the experience required, although we just had some great discussion about some of those roles in the leadership structure. You can, ask for additional information. Don't be shy. If I've heard Joanne say that one time, I've heard her saying a bunch. Don't be shy. You have to ask questions and raise your hand. The section really values the folks that we really last few years have done a great job getting leaders to really say, I'm interested in this position. I'm interested from middle level, council, executive, whatever the positions are. We're doing a great job trying to get people to say, I'm interested. And we value that as the section needs leaders to engage new members and current members, so we keep them engaged. So we keep this chain of good leaders in the section. So be responsive and reply to your mentor's communications in a timely manner. I'll say that for the mentor too. If you don't respond, it won't be a fruitful relationship unless both parties are really engaged and communicating. Okay, next slide. For the mentor, you need to reach out to your mentee, obviously, and listen. Key aspect for the mentors, really listen to what the mentee wants to do, what their goals are, and think about ways to help them accomplish those goals. You don't want to project what you think this mentee would be great to do this or great to do that. That mentee may want to have a limited role for a couple of years. They're busy with work. You never know. So you got to listen to what the mentee wants and try to work with them in achieving those goals within the section. You can share your experience. Our mentors are really have a lot of experience. They're wonderful resources and they have great experience. There's not many questions a mentor can answer. So the mentor can share those experiences. You need to do your best as a mentor to provide the information and the advice requested, encourage and guide thoughtful discussions with your mentee. Introduce your mentee to other leaders within section meetings. That's pretty obvious, but you want to make sure you're engaging that mentee with other members who might not know the mentee, or the mentee's kind of a little taken aback or awkward to go up to other people. This is a great way to introduce them. Be responsive and reply to your mentee's communications in a timely manner. Just like the mentee, it's a two-way street. So yeah, thanks. Go ahead.
Okay.
Additional for the mentor, Lily, thank you, Lily. Mentors should call their mentees no later than a week after their appointment in mutually agreed intervals, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually. Both parties should agree. We find having more communication is better, but people have to coordinate their schedules based on work commitments and other things. Mentors should recommend to the mentee committees and programs that their mentees that match their mentees' interests and goals. You should take them to those meetings. If you have a connection, you want to take them to a standing committee you're involved with as a mentor, take them there, introduce them to folks, maybe get them involved if they have interest. Mentors should also bring their mentees into the conversation at section meetings at least once per meeting. You're standing in a group at a reception, and you see your mentee to the side talking to one, maybe no people. Bring them into the conversation, introduce them to folks. Really easy thing to do to get a newer mentee engaged. Okay. Next slide. So how to get involved. You can contact Amber Quintal. Like I said, co-chairs L&M with me. Our email's there. Contact me or Joanne. Also a great resource. And we're in the directory, so you can call us. And the last thing I'd say is, anybody have any questions? That's the next slide. Remember, the most important key is to enjoy your relationship and have fun. So.
All right.
That's
So,
it.
uh, Kelly Clark and I are going to discuss communications within RPTE. I am the chair-elect for RPTE, Ray Prather, and Kelly is the Real Property Division Vice Chair of the section. So, the next slide, please. So, very few people that are members of the section are actually in leadership. So it is very important to engage with our members, in ways that, move outside of our group and committee chairs and vice chairs. And so this is how we're going to do that. And I'm going to skip the next slide and then go to the one titled listserv emails. So for every group and committee has a listserv. I guess I should say every group has a listserv. If a committee would like a listserv, please email Monica and she will set that up for you. But everyone has access to one. The listserv should be used to send notices and reminders to everybody. I recommend sending a welcome letter to your members at the beginning of the year through the listserv. But we should encourage our members to use the ADA communities for other discussions that they want to have. And the reason for that is everybody gets a listserv email when it's sent through the listserv, whereas with ADA communities, members can set how often they're going to receive those emails. So they have more control over it and you don't get complaints about us spamming their emails all the time. Next slide. The next way, this has been discussed a little bit in prior people, but by prior people, but we do have group and committee calls, and each group and committee can set their frequency on how often. For the larger groups, I would recommend monthly, and committees for some of the smaller groups and committees, they'll do it sometimes every other month or quarterly. But these are, usually pretty well attended by our members, and I would recommend using them as discussions so that people can get involved and have the ability to, ask questions, talk about issues with their members. And so, I would recommend, assigning somebody to lead a discussion, and maybe they'll set the topic and present on it for a few minutes and then invite members to discuss the topic and treat it as kind of a roundtable or study group so that people can really feel engaged and get more than just like a passive CLE from it. Next slide, please. ABA communities. This is the sort of community board that people can post discussions on. This is what I would use for, any questions people have in between the group and committee calls or Zoom meetings. And just, and again, it might be helpful if your committee were to assign a moderator to the ADA communities and, help people get engaged. If, they can, encourage questions, they can be responsible for responding if somebody does post a question, and maybe ask other people that might have expertise in that area to respond to the question and that sort of thing. So that's the ABA communities. Again, I would use it to communicate with members in between the group and committee calls. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kelly for leadership and mentoring.
Thank you so much, Ray. And as was said, I am Kelly Clark, and I am the division vice chair for the real property division. And I know that we've talked about leadership and mentoring, and we have our wonderful leadership and mentoring committee and the wonderful work that Dan and Joanne and Amber are doing. But in addition to that more formalized group, you also have the rest of the leadership team that serves in this capacity as well. And just keep in mind that it's a two-way street. You as a new leader can serve as a mentor to the members of your committees and other parts of the organization that you're a part of, as well as being a mentee if someone else that's in a leadership role or on the executive council of leadership could also serve as a mentor to you as well. But in addition, group chairs, vice chairs, supervisory council members provide guidance and advice to committee chairs and vice chairs on their duties. They hold monthly or bi-monthly calls with group leaders. The section's leadership and mentoring program has, as Dan has already talked about, provides one-on-one mentoring opportunities for new leaders who want to advance. And the program has been very successful. I have served on both the capacity as a mentor and a mentee within that leadership mentoring program, and it's been very helpful to me in moving through the leadership with the Ripping section. Next slide, please. I mentioned already that you two are a leader and being a mentor of your group. And so making sure that you're holding committee calls, group calls, engaging your members and providing a forum for networking with them and taking the initiative to propose programs. That's one of the ways that others can see or determine how they're going to participate is by watching you and you leading by example with making suggestions of programs, making suggestions of projects, and coming up with topics for discussions during the committee calls. Things that you can do to better understand what's going on in the section is, of course, attending the live meetings, and you have the opportunity to meet other people within the section and ask questions. And also join the committee or the division quarterly calls or sub-council calls as well, even if you're not a group chair or vice chair that has to report, so that you can hear an overview of what all of the groups are doing and find out ways that you can get involved. And of course, last but not least, all of the section officers are available to help and provide additional information. Next slide. The Fellows Program, we've heard an overview. Lisa provided us an overview of what the Fellows Program is. And just to weave in a little bit of my story, I started as well as a fellow and worked my way through the section with joining one of the substantive groups, of course, and had a responsibility to make sure that I was participating in their calls, participating as a panelist or a moderator frequently at that point, and also co-authoring articles for probate and property. And when fellows get to the second year of their fellowship program, that's the time to start talking with fellows about future opportunities to join leadership, to possibly be a vice chair of a committee. And also recommending to colleagues and other members of the profession to possibly apply to participate in the Fellows Program. Next slide. So attracting, training, and motivating talent. And to me, this is the connecting part of it, and just making sure, again, it's leading by example and participating. Chairs and vice chairs should work with committee chairs and vice chairs to engage them and the committee members, and creating action items for the calls, requiring the members to, come to the meeting prepared with a program topic to suggest for the RFP, or a call to an item or action item to talk about during a discussion call. Committee chairs and vice chairs find out what their members are interested in for those calls in advance as well. And so making sure that you're putting out that information on the listserv and in the communities, introducing yourself and finding out what topics people want to talk about. Connecting with other people is very important. We have all worked in organizations where the reason why we stay is because we're connected to the people that are in those organizations with us. And we've heard Jack and Jim talk about, their story, and we all have a story and why we stay involved. And getting to know each other and seeing our friends and colleagues when we come to these meetings is very important. Next slide. Diversity, equity, inclusion. And so the role of the diversity, equity, and inclusion officer, I am a past DEI officer of the section. Our current DEI officer is Christina Jenkins, and our diversity officer collaborates and engages with the executive council section leadership to make sure that our section is aware of areas to make sure that we're continuing to be inclusive, making sure that our programming topics are diverse and that we have diverse members participating in various aspects of leadership. And so the diversity officer not only collaborates with the executive leadership team, but with the DEI committee and with the staff to make sure that our larger ABA DEI plan is being followed. Our section DEI plan is being followed as well. and that we are abiding by the goal 3 commitment of the ABA for making sure that we are enhancing diversity, equity, and inclusion within our section and within the profession. We are being inclusive. Next slide, and I know I am running through this very quickly because of time. I'll turn it back over to Ray to talk about succession planning a little bit.
Well, I'll just keep this brief, but it is every year we do appointments to the various vice chair and chair positions. And I would encourage everyone to identify members who might be interested in becoming a part of leadership, and that will certainly make it easier for us when terms expire and new people need to be appointed. So please do that.
Okay, and the last few slides, the ABA, larger ABA business conduct standards. I'm not going to go into great detail here. This will be in the leadership materials. This is sort of our overall ethical obligation as being members of the ABA to make sure basically that we're treating each other with dignity and respect, and just keeping these items in mind in the ABA environment on our calls when we're attending meetings, that we are not bullying or intimidating anyone, creating violent situations, harassing anyone, acting cooperatively when we participate in ABA created events. You sign off on the business conduct standards every time you submit a reimbursement form. You're acknowledging that you've read the standards, and I would encourage everyone to take a look at that information in advance. Next slide. And this is going over some additional points, and I'm not going to go into these because of time with the ABA conduct standards. And this is providing contact information if there is ever an issue that you need to report. There is an email address. You can contact the larger ABA's Office of General Counsel, contact the ABA ethics line by phone, by email, or by text. Within our section, you're always welcome to reach out to our executive director, Robin Roy, if there's an issue. And also we have our DEI officer as well for any concerns. Okay, and I think this information, and Ray chime in, we've talked about the listserv emails as well. And so the next few slides, Lily, I think is just providing the actual listserv emails. Next slide, please.
And yeah, these should be available on rptefall.com. So, and if you ever have a question about what the listserv email is, please feel free to reach out to Monica.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ray and Kelly. And thank you to all of our speakers who helped us with this presentation today. I hope that as new leaders, you learned a lot. Again, there are additional trainings that are coming up this Wednesday for committee leaders and next Monday for group leaders. That is for new and old leaders who are going to be updated on their roles and responsibilities and information for the upcoming bar year. I'd like to ask Monica if she can just to quickly launch that survey. And once again, thank you to everyone who participated and to our speakers as well. Okay, thank you. The meeting has concluded. Thanks. Hope the recording stopped.